We've just been treated to an exhibition at the DY Patil Stadium, and an exhibition that started a little bit late. You paid your admission money, you got in there early, you watched it for 10 overs, and you were wondering, are we at the right place? Are we watching the Royal Challengers Bangalore bat 70 runs in 10 overs, 9 wickets in hand? We were on Cricbuzz Combox wondering what's going on. When are they going to step on the gas? I talked about cruise control. Well, that cruise control mechanism failed. The foot stepped on the gas and didn't come off. What a final 10 overs. 70 in the first 10 and 135 in the last 10. 13.5 and over. And just to summarize what's happened, this is where it's ended up. 205 for 2 in 20 overs. Faf du Plessis, 17 of 30, finished with 88 of 57. Kohli, 41 of 29. And what about that finishing kick from Cricbuzz Live's very own Dinesh Karthik? 32 of just 14 deliveries. Well, here we are on Cricbuzz Live to look back at the first half of this battle of two new captains. I'm in the company of Ajay Jadeja and Shaun Pollock. Ajay, I think all our management here at Cricbuzz are very relieved that we actually released Dinesh Karthik very generously.
Yeah, everybody here is very happy, but Anil Kumble is very upset. He says you should have carried on with him and kept him here, because if they had any chance, once they got Faf, they thought, maybe they'll be able to hold them back. But Dinesh Karthik just went in there, and, it's amazing what mindset does to you. Even when he left from here, he was so positive. He's been thinking about just the last few overs. And when he walked in, it was just like perfect. Whatever he's been practicing and dreaming, he walks in at that stage and just does an amazing job.
11 to 15, that sort of was when they stepped on the gas. 6.83 up to the 10 over mark, still not over 7.25 runs and over. And then 14.4 and 12.6, averaging out to 13 and a bit. 135 in the last 10. That was the big kick from them. And of course, it was led by the man who had a strike rate in the 50s, Shaun Pollock, when we chatted at Cricbuzz Combox. And we were wondering, what's going on with Faf? We were looking for records. What's his average strike rate after 30 balls? He obviously had a point to prove after that.
Yeah, experience tells you that you can absorb balls at some stage, but I think he would have been disappointed himself in how it had gone. Hit a lot of fielders up front and was unable to get the ball away. But yeah, that comeback. We also said in the Combox that it would be Faf who would want to do the job. There's the scenario, 273 and then 271 strike rate. That's simply fantastic after having started off, as you said, with just over 50. But he would have wanted to turn it around, not only from a captaincy perspective, from a team perspective. And you don't mind guys if they chew balls, if you know they're going to get something at the back end. It was often the guys who would say, listen, I need to get myself in. And then just as they felt like they want to go, they get out. Then they've really done a detrimental job for the team. But Kohli played nicely. It was good to see Karthik. He's finally got off his chair and gone and done something constructive on the field. So from a Cricbuzz perspective, we're happy for him. And I think ICB have got to be happy. I mean, at 70 for 1 after 10, they were thinking if they could post maybe 175, 180, they'd be happy. To have got over the 200 mark. I'm not too sure if the Jew's going to play its part, but they've got to be happy with that.
Let's stay with Faf du Plessis, Ajay, because Shaun used the word experience, and that's what it does. It's so easy for a player, okay, you tell yourself it's not my day, get frustrated, try and hit one up in the air. He didn't even go for his trademark ramp shot over fine leg. He waited when he was hitting the ball properly to do it, bided his time, and knew that 20 overs sounds shorter than it actually is.
Yeah, and experience comes by making mistakes, and that's what experience is. He would have done the things that you just said at an early age, or a certain time of his career where he would feel that, the game's being rushed, I'm holding the team back, I'm not getting strikes, so let me throw my bat away. But when you spend so many years around the game, that's when this comes in. Another example was only last night, with Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I thought that was very late, but you saw that as well. So I think you get something with experience, and what you lose out is something what you got from Anuj Rawat, or a young player who's fearless, who comes there, he's not worried about what the game's what stage of the game is. So they play differently, and that's why we've seen in the IPL the combination when certain senior players and certain young players get together and they have one direction, it works much better. And Faf's, today was exceptional, those 20 balls in the middle. But this is his style of play. Over the years, Chennai Super King fans must be ruing, saying, why did we let him go? You should have bidded for him. He's such a bank. So, at that time, it must have been tough because at first 30 balls when he was at 17, even an experienced player would have got a little rattle. And maybe that's why you got that surge that you got as well.
Yeah, and I think all the 4 players who stepped on the park played their part in a sense. The youngster was able to finish the innings. VK was able to come and say that, listen, I'm the one who's not captain anymore, but I'll encourage the opposition, or rather my non-striker, Shaun. And you could see that Virat Kohli was enjoying Faf's stroke play more than Faf himself. He was celebrating everyone.
And that's good to see. He's always come across as a very good team man who gets involved and gets behind the other success. And I think it was his catalyst moment. That 6 that he hit was almost the launching pad. Then Faf said, okay, well, I'll come and join the party as well. But all those strike rates look pretty good. In the context of that partnership, the 21 of 20 was okay. But then the hitting at the back end, sure, it was spectacular. I think Chahar was the pick of the bowlers, wasn't he? What does he go for 21? We saw in the last game as well, I think spinners-wise, there's been, we've bowled 12 overs. We've got about 12 overs for like under 60, and they've picked up about 5 wickets in today's play. And the teams have still disappeared for over 170, and now over 200. So,
and look at Chahar, since you mentioned that, Shaun.
Yeah.
5.5, where the strike rate is well in excess of 10.
Yeah. Kuldeep and Ashwin, I think they were in the teens, weren't they? One was like 14 and one was 17. Now he comes and bowls his overs. But we often see this at the start of the tournament with the seamers. They get taken to the sword in the initial few games because they're trying to work it out again, aren't they? They're trying to work out what lengths they must hit and how to hold their nerve, what they can possibly do. And then they tend to try and pull it back. I can remember countless RPLs where the bowlers have been put under the sword. You think, gosh, is this going to be a year where they just disappear? But they find a way. And it's normally the seamers that disappear up front. And it seems to be the case in point again.
Because they scored 205, you don't want to say too much about the quicker bowlers, Ajay, but Sandeep Sharma and Arshdeep Singh did sort of bowl a few decent deliveries in their final spell. It could have been even more had they not done that. The one who really showed his inexperience in these conditions was an unfortunate debut for Dean Smith.
Yeah, he was tested today, and I guess he's not used to. I've seen very little of him. I saw him in that series against India. I can't remember a game where he bowled all his 4 overs. So, he's, more of a batsman who bowls. He bowls a heavy ball, fine, but he's not one who, bowls an entire spell of 24 overs. And so bowling does look short. Sandeep Sharma tried his best, what he does. Anuj got after him at the start. Arshdeep was fabulous. I think the last over that he bowled, because especially for what had happened with him with Faf, taking him into the cleaners with his 3rd over. He then came around the wicket. He was lucky to get the wicket as well. But it just showed that the man wasn't fuzzled. He wasn't, once he'd been hit, it wasn't just over. He was trying something else. He had a plan. And I like his temperament. Even last year, I remember that game against Sanju Samson. So temperament is something that, will always stay with him and only get better. Skills will come and go. You're in form, out of form. Sandeep Sharma, for me, like I said at the start of the game, I think, Punjab will have to look at their bowling.
Yeah, that was, I think, the same game where they had the option to go to him earlier, but they gave him the crucial over, and there were a couple of international bowlers, Riley Merida, I think one of them, who bowled just before Arshdeep Singh. But yeah, Shaun, I think the bowlers will not really want to look back at that. Now they'll want to quickly refocus and say, let's start from scratch. They were 70 in 10 overs. If we can maybe have a better start, we can make 205 look a lot more gettable.
Yeah, in saying that, though, I thought there was a bit of movement, wasn't there? Arshdeep got the ball to shape nicely up front, and the guys asked a lot of questions. There was a lot of fielders found by the 2 batters for RCB. But, I think there's something in that surface initially. I think you can use the new ball to your advantage and even look to pick up wickets. But, yeah, I think if they can get off to a start of, if they can try and target maybe 80 or 90 after 10, and Mayank is the kind of guy at the top of the order who likes to go up and over. He'll like the pace on the ball. He likes to hit the ball square of the wicket over the offside. So it'll be pretty important if he can play a captain's knock like Faf did.
And of course, at the other end, Gabbar, as you said, Ajay, he seems that he belongs in Punjab. He was not really, I mean, we seem to see him much more on the field when he was with Delhi, but he was a little hidden in the field today, but he'll have to express himself with bat in hand.
Yeah, and a perfect opportunity because, the total that you're chasing down, it doesn't give you too many options. Gabbar likes to take his time. He's the man who holds the innings together. But, sometimes the total would force you to do something. And once it starts coming, because we saw even in the game earlier, last 10 overs, they needed more than 100 with 5-6 wickets down. They chased that down as well. So that's something that they should keep in mind. Maybe, the wickets at the moment are easier to, chase down runs right at the end. So I think wickets in hand, yes, if you can get off to a great start, fine. But if you go out too early trying to chase that 200 in the first 4 overs, it might just be over, before the power play is over. But if they have wickets in hand, they'll always be in the game. Don't forget, they have a superstar there, Shah Rukh Khan, Livingston. So Shikhar has to do his job, but there are guys who can do the job.
They certainly are. What about the bowling they'll be up against to wrap up here? We talked about this, at least on paper, looks a far more accomplished Bangalore bowling lineup to defend not just this kind of a total, even a 180, 170 type total. Akashdeep maybe not as tested, but Shaun, Siraj, Harshal Patel, David Willey, these three up front.
Yeah, point of AJ was very good about Harshal Patel at the back end, but I think David Willey will get that ball to swing up front, and Mohammad Siraj, I mean, he's been spectacular with a new ball in his hand. So I think they'd want them to operate at least 4 of those 6 overs to try and put their pressure underneath and then see where the game takes it. I don't know if Faf will go out of the box in his first game, maybe something quite different. But as I say, I think there's enough for those seamers to work with. And you almost got to say to them, come on, guys, there's something there. Take the responsibility of making an early breakthrough for us.
And of course, if the spinners have done the job, even in a 200-plus run fest, Wanindu Hasaranga will probably come into the game at some point in time. So talked about has been the Sri Lankan all-rounder. We need to also get a prediction in. Ajay, you were very close this time. You're 187 with a 10-run margin. It was Dinesh Karthik who spoiled that for you. It was looking as if 190 would be the score they'd get to, but you can sort that out with DK later. For now, let's revise that with a power play prediction for Punjab. You don't think they should go too hard? Will they go too hard?
I think they will. I mean, not much choice left. So you're looking around 55 plus. Even if they're 2 down, they'll still have to keep going. I mean, I sit here and I can say, hold wickets in hand. But when you're out there in the middle, there's a total that's driving the game. Nothing less than 55 is what they'd be looking for.
So 55 is the number we've got from there. I'm going to just go a little bit lower and even 50. Shaun, where would you sit on this one?
Okay, I'll go the top end there. I think Mayank will get off to a flyer, so we'll make it 61.
All right, 50, 55, 61. They would love 61 on the board. Once again, a reminder, after a slow start, 70 in the first 10, Bangalore have got to 205. 206 the target for Punjab, for Mayank Agarwal and company. We will be back on Cricbuzz Combox in the 10th over. And at the end, of course, we'll be looking back, not just at this game, but at Delhi's incredible victory over Mumbai. That's all from Cricbuzz Live.